Hey internet. So today I'm deciding to finally do a video that's been requested by many of you over all of my videos over a long period of time. So it may not be applicable to everybody. If it's not, no worries, just click out and I will see you in my next fashion-based or style-based video. However, I know a lot of you have become aware that I'm a lawyer and I went to law school, and I did a whole video a long time ago back at my mom's house when I was still living there about just kind of my university experience in general. And so it sounds to me like a lot of you are really curious about what it was like for me to go to law school, and just lots of questions about my legal education, how I got through it, how I survived it. So I thought I would do a whole video dedicated to that, and yesterday I Instagrammed a question out to all of you as to what questions you wanted me to answer. So I've scrolled through all of that and kind of picked out 6 main topics, and I'm just going to address them one by one, but if I have somehow missed something, then make sure that you leave it in the comments down below and I will make sure that I answer it for you. First of all, I want to go ahead and give you, in a nutshell, in 1 minute or less, my path into law school. So what I did is I graduated high school in Victoria, BC, here in Canada. And then I went ahead and took a gap year to figure out what I wanted to do, because I had a lot of offers and scholarships from Canadian universities, and I wasn't really sure if that's what I wanted to do or if I wanted to study abroad. So I took some time to think about it, and during that time I ended up working in Brussels as an analyst at an investment firm a year. So during that time, I pretty much would take weekends and time off to go and visit lots of universities to try and find my perfect dream school. And I had a good idea that at that perfect dream school, I was going to study law, and I was working on applications while I was working for that year. And the more I kind of thought about it, the more it solidified to me that law school was what I wanted to do right away. So in Europe, law school is often an undergraduate degree for people, a first degree after they finish their secondary schooling, and so that's what it was for me. I ended up picking England. It was the place that I felt the most comfortable going to, so I chose to go to Durham, which is a really well-known school in England. After I graduated that, I was still really young, so I decided to go ahead and do a master's, and I came home for that and went to the University of Toronto and did my LLM there over 1 year. Once I finished that, then I did my legal qualification, articling, and bar school, which is the photo that you've seen in the thumbnail and Instagram. That's from my bar call here in British Columbia. You wear robes. So yeah, that was the culmination of my legal education. So a first theme that I saw in your questions was, why did I want to go to law school? Why was that something that I wanted to do? Was it a long time dream of mine, or was it just something that I ended up doing? And it's honestly a little bit of both. Stereotypically, I grew up watching a lot of lawyers on TV. Definitely like family, friends, and people around me growing up were always telling me that I should be a lawyer. And really, actually, generally, I find that kind of annoying, because I don't think any particular type of person is necessarily suited to being a lawyer. And I decided on my own, I think, for a couple of reasons, that it's something I wanted to do. And the main one is that I just kind of started reading articles about cases and legal issues, and I found it really interesting. And I was coming from a place where I had just finished my international baccalaureate, which is a very rigorous high school diploma. It's very stressful, almost as stressful as law school, and I was just so bored and unhappy with every subject that I had taken for it. I just was in a general kind of miserable state in high school, and I wasn't really all that interested in any of the subjects from that. So I kind of weeded out a whole bunch of pathways, just kind of doing the IB, because they make you take 6 subjects, which is a lot more than for other high school pathways. And I also had to do a thesis and research on ethics, and it's a big deal. So I came out of that, I was like, I don't want to do any of that, but I really enjoy learning about this. And I think that's a good reason, actually, to go to law school. So for sure, I mean, there's all that good stuff about being around lawyers and meeting them and wanting to be like them. Maybe you have a lawyer in the family, I didn't. But the best thing you can do for yourself is just kind of do a bit of reading and see if you enjoy it, because you know what, if you go to law school, that's going to be your life for 3 years. So the fact that I enjoyed that, ultimately, looking back now with hindsight, was the best indicator of the fact that I made the right choice for me. Definitely as tired of it as I sometimes got, ultimately I still overall really enjoyed learning about legal issues and famous cases and areas of law, even ones that I knew I never wanted to practice in, like criminal. I also did a lot of debating and mooting in high school, and everybody's always telling you how that's great preparation, and if you're good at that, then you'll be good at law school. I take that with a grain of salt, but it did apply to me, so I probably should include it in this video. A lot of you know that I did my law degree abroad, as I just mentioned, in Durham in England at Durham University, and then also actually Toronto was far from home for me because I'm from British Columbia, so the other side of Canada. And you've asked me about my thoughts about studying abroad. Should you do it? Should you not? I think my thoughts are pretty short about that. You should do what feels right for you. I think for a lot of people it's really hard to leave home. For me, with a European parent, it wasn't really that hard because I knew she would come visit me and I would have family in Europe. So actually, it was so good for me because after high school, I just really needed to go and experience something different. I was kind of homesick by the end of it and wanting to return home to Canada. I just was so happy that I did it, and I had an amazing time at Durham. And I don't want to get too much into that because I talked more about that in my university experience videos, so I don't want to start, this turning into like a Durham alumni ramble. So I'm going to stop there about that. However, on the studying abroad topic, I definitely know other people who studied abroad too, and I think the best thing I can tell you is I don't know a single person who regretted it. But I think if you have the opportunity during any point in your life to experience something different and go to another country or even another area of your country, so like let's say you're from Canada and you get an offer for a university on the other coast or somewhere that's kind of new to you and that you're excited about, I would say take it, because I don't know anybody who's ever told me they regretted it. I know very specifically a lot of you have asked me questions about the National Committee of Accreditation, which is the board that decides whether or not you get to article here if you have an international law degree. So it's basically like an accreditation process where they review your credentials and decide if you need to take any exams to make up for what you might have been missing on, for example, Canadian criminal or constitutional law. I know those are two big issues, and ethics as well. So I had to take 5 exams, which was really excessive given that I went to a common law country, so the same legal system, but they are a very sort of thorough body, and because I got that reviewed before I finished my master's, I didn't get a whole lot of credit for the LLM because they will only look at courses that are complete. So I think that's the best advice I can give you. Make sure that when you get accredited, everything is complete. And the flip side of that, why I didn't do that and wait, is that they take so long to review your credentials that the whole process of the NCA takes a year. So if you're planning, with your family or career or something, some kind of move here where you want to get your law degree accredited, I really highly recommend that you plan ahead. So, that's kind of the information that I have. It's not a difficult process, it's just a long process, and it's kind of a lonely one because you don't have the support and fun of having classmates do it with you. In a nutshell, it was such a good decision. I loved it. Even though I had to do the NCA, I've never regretted it, but I think it's important to know, especially if you are from Canada and then looking to come home after, that you will most likely have to do some kind of exams and that it won't be a whole lot of fun, because I didn't know that when I went over. I only found that out subsequently. I think I had some kind of illusion that I would just take the bar exam here with everyone else and I would be allowed to do that with a degree from a good university from the same legal system, but that is not the case. A lot of you asked me about study and life, study balance, and just kind of what it's like to be a law student, and I have to say I think I had a pretty mild experience compared to what you see on TV. My LLM in particular, so my master's degree, was very chilled. I met lots of nice people, I took lots of advanced classes and wrote a lot of papers, and it was definitely like an intense year because you definitely fit a lot into that year because a lot of LLM programs are 2 years, but I don't think that I felt overly stressed during that year at all. My actual law degree from Durham was definitely more stressful because you're really trying to get those grades and pack in just a lot into your life. It's your student experience, you have all these extracurriculars you want to do, and at the same time you're doing a qualifying law degree. For life balance, I mean, you're not going to get a ton of it. You're definitely going to be packing in a lot. You're going to be learning a lot. For me at Durham, most of my exams were actually closed book, which means that I had to memorize all of the cases. And that is actually something that if you can, you might want to ask about before you sign up for a school, because that's something else I didn't know about. And depending on how good you are at memorizing things, you might find it a lot harder or a lot easier. However, I still got through it, and maybe it actually helped me to retain more information in the long term because I had to memorize it. I'm not sure. Definitely, I'm surprised at how much I remember because I'm now actually a visiting professor at a local university that teaches future notaries about law, namely contract law, for the course that I'm teaching. And I thought I didn't remember anything about it until I started looking at the course materials and what I was going to be kind of teaching them about and the assessments I was going to write for it. And I actually remember way more than I thought I did, which is kind of amazing. It just reminded me so much about how much I enjoyed learning all of those cases, those landmark contract cases, and just the idea of contracts and all of the kind of theories behind it, and how it developed and why it's important and how it relates to other areas like corporate law and so forth. I just kind of, it all came flooding back, and I was really excited about it, and I still am because I'm teaching the course for the next couple months. So yeah, I'm still, as you can see, packing way too much into my life, YouTube, teaching, and my job as well as a lawyer. So it is a lot. It's always been a lot for me. I guess that's just how I live, and if you don't think that you want to do that, then maybe you should do something else. However, if you are passionate about it, I think you will find that it is not as bad as you think, and you just take each day at a time, and it just kind of all works out. You work hard. One thing I do want to say is I never pulled any all-nighters or lost any sleep until I started working at the firm that I did my legal training at. So it wasn't until then that I pulled an all-nighter. I never pulled an all-nighter as a law student. I know some people did. That's just how they wanted to deal with things if they were, you know, kind of really behind on their reading or on writing a paper. I just made sure I was always really organized, and if I could give you one tip, that's probably it, is to make sure you're as organized as you can be, and if you get behind, you don't get so behind that you cannot catch up on a reasonable schedule. If you want to hear more about my study tips, then you probably should check out my study tips video because I did a whole video about that. For graduate school, I know a number of you had questions about the importance of graduate school. Should you go? Should you not go? What do I think about it? Graduate school is kind of funny because some firms that I've kind of interviewed with or talked to over the years have zero interest in my master's. They literally could not care less. And when I get that response, or I get kind of confusion as to why I would want to spend a year of my life getting a bit more of an academic degree, it's annoying because you want people to appreciate your credentials. However, I think what you'll find in life, if your path is similar to mine, is that some people will appreciate your credentials and others won't. So I think you'll find that graduate school isn't necessarily universally helpful. I think especially if you're in a field where experience is valued over academics, then you might not want to do that because it will cost you money. It will, you know, pull you away from getting the experience that you might need to be getting instead. However, law is a funny field in that some people do really value academics. They look back at their law school education and realize that it helped them learn how to be a good lawyer and be analytical and forge all those important skills that they now use in practice. And then I've had people who really just have an interest in me just based on my graduate degree, and that's really been what's differentiated me and put me a step ahead of other candidates, which is always something that is super amazing when you are in a very saturated market or a small market like I'm in here in Vancouver. And of course, you have to enjoy it. I really enjoyed that year, so I'm so glad that I did it. If you think that going back to class and having to write more exams or papers is going to be awful for you, then don't do it, because it's going to come across later on when you talk about it that you didn't enjoy it. Let's say, you know, you've done all of the work in terms of getting into law school and you're there now or just about to get started, because it is that time of year after all. Now what? Every law school experience is different, so I don't want to kind of preach at you about what your experience should be like. Just work hard, read a lot, think a lot, talk a lot about concepts if you can with others. All of those things will make you better at the law school process. Make sure you know what you want to get out of it as early as possible. And I don't mean in terms of jobs necessarily, just in terms of getting involved with things and what courses you want to take. Don't be afraid to try lots of different legal areas when it comes to your courses. I think the worst thing you can do is decide you want to do corporate and then take all corporate classes or all criminal classes and then realize that you hate it later on and you don't want to do that, and then it's going to make it really hard for you to take that package of courses and present it to a firm later on that has a totally different practice area. I definitely had more corporate and securities focused classes because that's what I knew I wanted to do with my law degree later on. Make sure you allow yourself to make friends, socialize, and have fun, because in the end, most people who go to law school already have the smarts and ability to do really well, so you just need to put it into play. And actually make that experience fruitful for yourself. And I think having, you know, all of those different parts and the extracurriculars and so forth is going to be of huge service in terms of getting you that eventual job that you will want. And so you should go for it. Go for things that you're interested in, that you want to be a part of, and do not question whether or not you'll be able to deal with it, because you will just deal with it one day at a time by staying as organized as you can. A lot of you ask me who should go to law school, who is the right personality or background. I have met people from all walks of life in all ages in law school. I think there are 2 skills that you need to have in order to succeed in law school, and you can acquire those by working hard, or you can already have them. And if you already have them, your experience will definitely be easier. And those are analytical skills, so the ability to really split up, analyze, and find solutions to issues is critical to how you're going to answer exam problem questions and how you will eventually practice as well, if that's what you want to do. Although I want to say right now, just because you go to law school doesn't mean you will be a lawyer, so don't necessarily get trapped into that line of thinking, and it especially doesn't necessarily mean that you will be a litigator. My first skill that I think you need to have or acquire, and my second skill, which I've already mentioned that you need to have or acquire, is verbal skills, because the ability to write well and discuss law well is absolutely critical. And so if you have that under your belt already, it will just make the whole process feel smooth and exciting, and you'll be able to kind of imbibe lots of knowledge and use it effectively. And so that's about all I have to chat with you guys about. I feel like this video is probably already getting really long, so I'm gonna let you go, but make sure that you subscribe and like this video if you want to hear more about being a lawyer, because I will do a video on that at some point. And if you have any more questions for me, you can leave them in the comments down below, and I will see you there. So thank you so much for watching and asking me all of those questions on Instagram. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your interest, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!